Good evening, everyone. Chris Terrell here, patreon.com/JagerBombs, as well as DFSR.com. We got a great little Monday here. We got 10 games on the main slate. Usually, I think the last Monday we only had like 4 or 5, so it's a nice little Monday here with 10 games. Pitching isn't great, so we are going to talk some pitching. Though there is some plays that definitely kind of come up here a little bit. We don't have a Dodgers pitcher announced yet. We're going to talk some PrizePicks plays. I had a DFSR member, a new member today, actually asking me about how to use the optimizer. So I'm going to go over a little bit of that as well if he comes in probably midway through the show or so. And about 30, 40 minutes here. Then I'll get my picks down. Like I said, we're going to talk DraftKings, FanDuel, talk about top stacks, players. I got some bets for tonight as well. I'll be looking to burn some money after an awesome week of PGA. So stay tuned for that as well. So I'm just going to share in a few places, wait for a couple people here, and then I am going to get going talking about some daily fantasy baseball. And if you are new, just tuning in, checking out this after the show, and you want access to the cheat sheet that I'm going to be showing here on the show, just head over to patreon.com/JagerBombs, $10 a month if you just want baseball only. That's a cheat sheet every day covering almost every slate. There's customizable models, advanced stats. You're going to see it all here shortly. Or if you play more than one sport, it is $20 a month, and we are up to, over on Patreon, I believe 14 sports now. We got CFL sheets up for that as well. So there's about 7 or 8 sports live right now that we're covering for sheets. So chat, that's access to the Discord as well. And if you just want to come in, check us out, free trial. In the description below, you will see there's a link to our Discord free trial. We have a trial member set up channel just for you guys, giving out some content. Make sure just to shout us out in chat if you're looking for something specific, and we can give you bits and pieces and show you a little bit what's going on. Good evening, Mike. Good to see you. Hope everything's good. Just going to jump in and share the sheet here shortly, and we're going to talk some pitchers right off the bat here. So at the top, we got a decision tonight. Not a great slate, like I said, in terms of pitching. My model has Cole and Gausman, 1 and 2. Gausman's definitely, the total's a little bit lower in that one. He's got a better pitching park, but the Mets bats are a little bit more scary. I personally like Garrett Cole here. He's coming off of, he hasn't pitched in 2 weeks. He was on the COVID list, but I haven't found anything that says he's going to be limited tonight. So he's definitely up there at the top for me, only $800 more. I do like the upside. He's got a lower xFIP. They both got about the same whip, so pretty good in terms of safety, both of them, but I like the upside, almost 5% more in terms of K rate for Cole. He walks less batters as well. And then if we slide over and just look at LA specifically as a matchup, it's pretty close in terms of the splits versus righties. But it's more this current form over the last couple of weeks. They both been bad. So I wouldn't fault you for going Gausman here, but Cole's definitely number 1 for me. He is, to me, the better pitcher. Number 2, we've got Wade Miley. I don't mind it. If the price was any higher, I would probably be off of it, just simply because he doesn't bring a lot of K rate. It's 18.5%. There is not much upside whatsoever. So we're kind of looking for that 16 points, 2x. And if we go look at that a little bit here on DraftKings, when I say 2x, I mean, excuse me. What I mean by 2x is you're taking his price, which is 8,200, and you're timesing it by 2 and divide by 1,000. So when I'm looking at these prices, I'm just taking 8.2, timesing it by 2. It's 16.4 points. That's what we need for it to hit 2x value. And that's kind of what we look for in cash games. So you can see he's just not consistent getting that. Although the upside is, there's 24 points to hit 3x is pretty good for Miley. Just the strikeouts just aren't there. He needs to have one of those, like almost a perfect game, like perfect 7 innings here, 0 earned runs. He only had 5 strikeouts versus the Pirates, and that got him 25 points. He always gets up there and pitches, so that's not bad unless he's getting hit like he did in his last start. But what I do like going tonight as my favorite SP2 would probably be Griffin Jackson here. He is a slight favorite going up against Cleveland. 9.5 total. I'm not sure. I'm going to check and see if those odds have changed. Yes, actually, Minnesota's odds have gone up to a -133 here as we get closer to lock. The 7,000, that is only 14 points that we need from him to hit that same 2x threshold. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw Cole in here. Let's just check the news here, see if anything popped up. Nope, nothing in terms of pitch count there. In terms of new news, I will check and report that if I do find anything in chat. But as of right now, it's Garrett Cole at number one. And then, like I said, I wanted to look at Griffin Jackson a little bit. We need 14 points from him. The price isn't as low as we've seen it in that mid 5K range, but 7K is still all right here. He's gone 5+ in 4 of his last 5. Let's just scroll down and look at his whole body of work. So 5+ in 4 of his last 5. He got beat up against Kansas City. After getting beat up in Kansas City, he went in his very next start against arguably the best team, one of the best teams in baseball, top 3 offense for sure. In the White Sox, he only went 4 innings, but he only gave up 1 hit, 1 earned run, struck out 6, and only walked 1. That was awesome. At these prices, that's over that 2x threshold comfortably, and that's only 4 innings of work. And then he went 5 innings versus St. Louis, 2 hits, 1 earned run, only struck out 2, just came up shy of that 14 that we'd be looking for. Same thing in Houston, 5 1/3, only give up 1 earned run, 0 Ks in that one. Then this last start was amazing against the White Sox again. So seeing him for the second time, the White Sox were still not able to do much. They got 5 hits off him and 3 earned runs, but he struck out 10. So he struck out 16 White Sox, only walked 2 in his last 2 appearances versus them. And now he's going up against Cleveland at 7K. I do like that price tag a lot. Robert just asked about Quantrill at 7,800. Not really. I'm more on the Minnesota side tonight. Quantrill, we'll go bring up his card here and just kind of look. Right now, it's Jax for me as my top number 2, but I will bring up Quantrill's card here and just kind of have a look. What I wanted to look at first of all, before we go look at his form, was slide over here. Yeah, so first of all, he's got almost a run and a half higher xFIP than the ERA, so that tells me there's probably some regression coming. He's not giving up a lot of home runs, so he's really suppressed that. He's backed that up by not giving up a very high exit velo, not a lot of hard contact. So Minnesota maybe not as a complete stack or anything like that, and they're not highlighted on the sheet anyway. There is a play I'm going to talk about with them shortly in terms of cash games. He's not giving up a high barrel rate, so it is viable. Yeah, 6+ and 4 straight. He's been pretty awesome here. We're looking for 16 points out of him for just that 2x threshold, and he's done that in 4 straight, and he's given us 4x upside in that start against Detroit where he struck out 10. I don't think he's going to strike out 10 versus Minnesota by any means, but I'm definitely on board there with you, Robert. I would definitely consider him. He would be a GPP play for me. I just think we can get a little bit safer at $800 cheaper going with Jax. But I don't fault you with either one here. The SB2 is the biggest question mark because I could honestly see pairing Cole with Miley, Quantrill, or Jax. And one that I'm looking at more for a GPP play here I've got highlighted is Josh Fleming. So first of all, Colin McHugh is opening. He's generally gone 2 innings. He's been kind of that long relief guy for Tampa. I see him going probably once through the order, which is probably going to be 2 innings again. Possibly once if he gets hit around a little bit. I'm not sure. It's Baltimore, so that the odds of that happening aren't great. But Fleming's going to come in and he's going to be the projected long reliever. Don't always trust that because we've seen that before where other sites have him labeled as that, or DraftKings has him labeled as that, and it doesn't work out. So keep that in mind. So it is definitely risky, but GPP for sure, because he needs about 12 to 15 points we would take comfortably. So he does give us that 3 to 4x upside possibility. He obviously got shelled in his last start against Boston, but this isn't Boston. This is Baltimore. So I'm kind of seeing that that safety and that 12 to 13 points for the 2x, and then possibly higher if he gets in there and gets that 5 innings. He might even have the chance at the win being the projected long reliever as well. Also, Stanley, Robert, Jonathan, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Good luck tonight. I really do appreciate it. Love the emojis. Always an emoji guy. Jackson Fleming. Now, there is definitely a GPP pitching stack on DraftKings where you can fit all the bats. And with that, we're just going to jump right into the bats here and go over to the team stacking tab. So first of all, we got this game in Colorado. It's got an insane 13 over under. I'm really interested in betting the over. I'm really considering it, actually. Seems insane, but the hitting environment isn't great. There isn't a ton of humidity, but it's like 80 to 85 degrees. So it is hot there. There's not much in terms of wind or anything to talk about in terms of added boost or anything. It's like 5 to 8 miles an hour or something, but it's blowing like right to left. So nothing there. It's more the pitching. We got Weathers versus Senzatella, so we could see a ton of runs in this one. They both have been pretty terrible lately. So let's go look at San Diego first of all. I like pieces of San Diego for cash. Obviously I like the top of the order for GPP, but for cash games, I'll slide down here. We will go to San Diego. Adam Frazier, I wrote in the DFSR article, don't overthink it. 4,100 is too cheap, sitting in between Machado and Tatis, who are $4,000 $2,000 more than him. Look at the on-base percentage of 376. He's struggled a little bit since coming over, but we can't deny he's in Colorado, so he's got the awesome hitting park. He's got a great matchup. He's got an excellent on-base percentage, and he hits between two of the best hitters in baseball. I just don't think we can avoid that. It's a spot where we're getting our top projected team and a player hitting between two all-stars at $4,100. Same with Jake Cronenworth. You get him at first or second on DraftKings. I believe you can play him shortstop on FanDuel. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe he is shortstop on FanDuel. Let me just check that out here. No, first and second on FanDuel, and I believe he's now shortstop or something like that because he has been filling in for Tatis, playing I think 6 or 7 games straight at the shortstop position. So DraftKings has him at the shortstop. So I like that price there. Austin Nola, if you are paying up for catcher, in cash games, I'm not going that route, and I'm going to go. I have the catcher that I'm going for shortly here. But if you're going in GPP, at 4,400 is another nice price tag, hitting in the 5-hole in Colorado. Eric Hosmer as a value play tonight, probably just for GPP value. I don't mind going 1 to 5 or 2 to 6 here. Or if you want to go a little bit lower, I like the whole team as a GPP. You can get some lower ownership if you maybe stack like mid to bottom of the order type thing if you want to kind of get away from the chalk, which there's going to be with that many cheap pitchers that we talked about. And then just these mispricing on DraftKings. One that I talked about here in my article, I don't think Minnesota is a top stack for me because we talked about Quantrill and how good he is, but Josh Donaldson should not be 3,400. Cash games, I mean, that would be a one-off play that I like hitting in the 4-hole there. You don't have to force it, but 3,400 is just too cheap. And then we're going to go up to Colorado next. I had them as GPP only earlier in the day, but Eden pointed out in DFSR chat, because I had completely missed it, I should have wrote him up. I did not. So credit goes to her for bringing him up to me. I hadn't got there yet in the show, but I totally missed it in the article. Hitting leadoff at 2,800 at home versus Weathers. Let's look at his splits here. So about average, but he's got a 225 ISO, so he's got a lot of power versus lefties, although he's just league average in terms of weighted runs created. Pretty good WOBA. I'll take that at 341. But 2,800, that is a must play. Just put him in your lineup. That is cash, all formats. I love the top of Colorado for value here with Connor Joe, Brendan Rodgers, and Trevor Story. Story at 5,400 is a pretty good price, and you can really stack those top three because of Joe's price. And even Rodgers under 5K hitting the two-hole, 284, 346 on base percentage. He's got some power in there as well. So 4,700 seems like a little bit too cheap. Those top three in the lineup, I think we can target, and then we can mix that in with a 5-man game stack. I like those three. In terms of cash games, you can really do this comfortably, and I'm going to show you here in just a second. Joe, Rodgers, Story, and then San Diego, like I talked about with Cronenworth and Frazier. So I'm going to just bring that up here. Connor Joe, I think we're going to put him at first base to start with, and then we're going to go Adam Frazier at second. Cronenworth at shortstop. Rodgers at second or shortstop. Okay, so we got to shake this up, and we can't. Okay, so we can't do this, kind of do the game stack. We were going to have to mix it around because you're going to have to either give up Frazier or Cronenworth, and Rodgers is more expensive. So for cash games, it's Frazier and Cronenworth for me because it does give you $300 and $600 savings over Rodgers. But for GPP, definitely mix in Rodgers. And for that fact, I think Rogers is going to be the lower owned of the Frazier, Cronenworth, Rogers trio. If you're looking at those three as kind of a decision between them. All right. So that's the way I'm looking at those three right there, but I love all of them in all formats. Going up next team that I like here as a core team. So green is going to be my favorite play. So I'm going to go to the Houston Astros. Again, back to the DK drunk algorithm. Michael Brantley never is getting over 3,500 ever again. I swear. He's hitting 332. That leads all of baseball. And he's 3,300. That's just ridiculous. That's another must play. So let's go throw him in there. Brantley. Yeah, you got to scroll so far down to find them. So Joe and Brantley have to be in your lineup, even if you don't want these San Diego guys, which I think are just tremendous values hitting on the road, getting the park adjustment that they get going from San Diego to Colorado, hitting 2 and 4 in the top projected scoring team tonight and one of the best offenses in baseball at 44 and 4,100. This is by far the way I like to start my cash game lineup tonight. And Houston, going back to Houston here, Correa up to third. He's not 361 on base percentage is great. The average is down. He's not having the most consistent year, I guess you could say, but the price is more. That $4,000 price tag on DraftKings is more what we see from him when he's hitting in the 5 hole. He's in the 3 hole tonight, so 4,000 is too cheap. Same with Yordan Alvarez at 4,400. These are guys that could be in the mid 5K to 6K range. When almost everyone and their grandmother seems to be in the 5K range these days on DraftKings, of any team that's projected for like 5+ runs, all these guys should be like 5K. So Altuve hasn't been as consistent hitting at the top of the order, so I got him as GPP only. Same with Gurriel at 5K. He's coming back. He's 2 games back, hasn't got a hit yet in his 2 games back. Still too cheap on FanDuel, though I like him as a core play over there. And then we got some value guys down here at the bottom of the lineup if you still need some more, but I really, really don't think you do, just because of what we talked about. Like, that's a solid core. We got 4,300, so you go and throw Yordan in here. We'll look at his player card before we throw him in. But Hernandez hasn't been bad, but I do like Houston. They're just such a powerful lineup. Again, he's not been near his upside, but this is a guy we've seen in the 5,500 to 6K range. So that 4,400 is like $1,000 too cheap for him. So, like, for cash games, again, I'm just kind of building this out the way I'm playing it. And I've got 2-2. I was going to talk my top catcher here. I'm going to find him. Jason Castro, 2,300 for Houston here. He's hitting down in the lineup, but Houston is on the road. So, again, I always talk about targeting guys down towards the bottom of the lineup. I prefer them to be on the road team just because we are guaranteed that final at bat. So that could mean the difference of 4 at bats versus 3 for these guys near the bottom of the lineup if a game kind of goes in a bad game script. If it's a good game script and Houston ends up scoring, 6-7 runs, he's going to get 4 before the 9th inning, most likely anyway. But I'm just talking a game script for cash games where maybe it doesn't go 100%. We know we're going to get 4 at bats out of Brantley and Alvarez, provided they don't get pulled or injured or something. But Jason Castro down at the bottom of the lineup, if it's like a 3-2 type game, if he was at home, it's not guaranteed he's going to get 4 at bats. So that's why I look at that. I wanted to explain that a little bit. Keeps popping up on the screen. I keep clicking on it. All right. So there is a solid build, leaves you 5,400. So you can switch things around and get as much San Diego or Colorado. You can take Frazier out easily, and you can fit who was it there at the top of Colorado? Just slipped my mind here all of a sudden. Sorry about that. Just going to scroll to Colorado and figure out Brendan Rodgers and Story. I mean, you could go that route if you wanted. So there is a lot of ways to go. And I know someone had mentioned going like this is GPP only here now. Jackson Fleming leaves you a $4,500 average. That's very GPP only, but then you can just go ahead and stack, San Diego, Colorado. You can stack whatever bats you want. Eden says, I can fit Machado or Tatis, leaning Machado. It's definitely Tatis for me. Not just because of last night, not just Jason. I believe I just seen that he should still be probably leading the votes for the MVP. I know he's probably going to need more games. He's going to need to play pretty much every game going out, but he's leading so many stats. He's just more consistent. Machado has just not been great. 2 walks last game, but other than that, he really hasn't been walking a whole bunch whatsoever. So he hasn't been patient at the plate. Doesn't seem like he's locked in whatsoever right now. Whereas Tatis was out. it seemed like, oh my God, Tatis is out again. This sucks. He comes back, hits 2 home runs last night. After missing 2 weeks, he just looks absolutely dominant, puts up a 42 spot. I don't expect a 42 spot whatsoever, but 10 to 15 points. I think we can see like 2 to 3x return from him in this game in Colorado, and 42 is not out of the realm whatsoever. So it's definitely Tatis for me there, Eden. Thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. All right. So I want to talk. Don't want to lose Cronenworth. Yeah. I wish they would just leave him as a multi-position eligibility. They don't have utility like FanDuel. FanDuel brings you multi-position eligibility this season after bringing the utility in the year before. I think maybe 2 years, whatever. But now they've got both. So some of these players you can play in like 4 different positions. I seen a player, I forget who it was, but they had 3 different position eligibilities plus utility. DraftKings, the guy goes and plays 6 games at shortstop, and they take away all of his first base and second base, which he's played like, I don't know, I want to say at least 20 games at both. And all of a sudden, he's just a starting shortstop on DraftKings. Like, stop it. Fix your pricing, fix your position eligibility. Anyways, rant over. Moving on to some PrizePicks plays that I like tonight. Again, I always like to go off my core plays. I like to concentrate mainly on hits and walks, but this, Eden, brings me right over to transition nicely into my top play tonight is Fernando Tatis. Usually we don't see a guy in Coors with a hits walks prop or even a runs RBIs prop. So I'm taking that and to the bank tonight with Tatis with a run or RBI for 2. I mean, we don't need the hits and walks. We just need him to get on base or drive in a run, 2-run homer, whatever. So I definitely like that. Tampa Bay, Lau at the top, over 1.5. I like that. Him hitting leadoff against Matt Harvey. We have seen some good, like I wrote in my article, we've seen some glimpses of the old Matt Harvey, but it has been few and far between. And when he is bad, he is bad. And Tampa Bay is a team that can absolutely punish you. So getting 4 or 5 at bats from Lau, he's burned me in the past. I'm just not going to let the past kind of dictate my decision on a daily basis in a good matchup like this. So I'm going with him. And then I've got Rogers, Connor Joe, and I've got the under on Ahmed Rosario. I've been trying to mix in some unders here. And what I do is I just pretty much scroll to the bottom and I'm looking for guys with hits, walks. Mainly, that's what I'm targeting for my unders, hits, walks, or even fantasy. You can do fantasy as well because a couple singles can hurt you if you do hits, walks under, but it's not going to hurt you if it doesn't do it. They don't drive anyone in or they don't score in terms of the fantasy score. And so you can take that in consideration too on these guys that I'm picking the under. I just don't think they're going to do anything. So I scroll to the bottom and I look against tough matchups. Rosario has one. I always talk about Rosario when he's facing a lefty. I want the over. It's the opposite in the under when he's facing a righty. And I talked about liking Griffin Jackson here as well. As you can see, Ahmed Rosario's only got a 72 WRC plus, 278 WOBA, and 090 ISO against, and a 317 on base as well against right-handed pitching. So I just like those splits as well as I like Griffin Jackson tonight. So I do like the under there. You could really, after Tatis, and even Lau, this 3 to 5, you could mix that any way you want. If you're playing just 3 or 4 and you're wondering what my rankings are, this is pretty much all tied at third, to be honest with you. If you feel Connor Joe hitting leadoff, but him and Rogers, I think, both get theirs tonight. The only reason I put Rogers up here in the 3 spot originally was his splits against lefties. 407 WOBA, 141 WRC plus, 338 ISO. I love that for Rogers. Keep that in consideration as well when we were talking our DraftKings lineup. So for cash games, I prefer that San Diego build that I had. But for GPP, I do like going Rogers just because he has been money against lefties. And I had this loaded up because I wanted to show you, seeing as we were talking about Colorado and why I like Colorado and why I switched them to a core team tonight. Well, Ryan Weathers is the reason. He has been complete trash, giving up 8, 7, and 7 in terms of hits his last 3 at home versus Colorado. And these are 3 at home. At home versus 2 of them are bad offenses. You could even say Colorado on the road is a bad offense. So 3 good matchups for a pitcher in a good pitcher's park, and he's been just absolutely terrible. 6 home runs in that time. 20 earned runs in that time. 7 strikeouts last game was nice to see against Miami. I don't see that tonight. So I do like Colorado, so I'll be getting in on that as well. And then if you want to look at the bullpen report here, San Diego over the last 7 days for the season, they've been tremendous. They've been actually they have been the top bullpen this season, but a little bit worse over the last 7 days. So that's a little bit of a plus sign if Weathers only goes like 2, 3, 4 innings, something like that. But if he only goes 2, 3, 4 innings, they're going to beat up on him right there. So they don't really need to do a whole bunch against the bullpen to hit value. If they do, that's great. So I do like that trending down in terms of the Padres bullpen here tonight as well. So that covers my prize picks as well. So the other thing I wanted to do here, so good play to dump Connor Joe and GPP at that ownership. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be super high owned at 2,800. I don't think you necessarily have to. I think that's some chalk that we can eat tonight. Just as a warning for anyone watching, please do not eat chalk. I'm just talking about chalk ownership for DraftKings, FanDuel, that sort of thing. Please do not eat chalk. I'm going to say that one more time. All right. But yeah, you definitely can because of the high ownership. He's not like a superstar or anything. So fading a player that's going to be, for cash games, he's going to be super high owned. I would think for GPP, let's say 40%, maybe even reach 50%. So there is some leverage there in fading him and just going with like a San Diego stack where, say, Weathers is really good tonight. San Diego absolutely crushes. Colorado gets 1, 2 runs, and Joe gets on base with like a walk or a hit. And only, even if he gets, like, let's just say he's 1 for 4 with a walk and a hit, that ain't going to be enough at 40%, 50% ownership. That's a great spot if you're going that way. So I do like that. Don't drink bleach either. This is true. This is very, very true. Okay, so I wanted to look at. I had one person come on DFSR today, like I said, and was asking about how I use this. So I talked about my plays. So what I would do on a typical night is I'm going to come in and lock my top pitchers. So I like Jackson Cole, first of all. I'm going to see what it spits out. And I am on DraftKings Classic, main slate. I've X'd no one out or anything like that. But for DraftKings, you have to make 2 decisions. So you have to either lock 2 players or lock 1 player and X another. So what some people will do is lock their favorite pitcher. And if they don't really know, and they kind of want to know what our system is looking at in terms of who is the top, like obviously we know Cole's going to be number 1. He's way up there in terms of projection, 4 points more than the next pitcher. I always come down for my SP2 and just X out the worst one. You can find out where the system is going. I personally like Jax, so I want to see where the system is. Gosman, that makes a lot of sense, paying up for both. The system does that a lot on DraftKings, and it really comes down to both have been excellent top-tier pitchers this season, plus all the value that we talked about tonight. Like, obviously, there's Connor Joe. He fits in there. We got Machado and Tatis in the same lineup. Ruff, Daza. There's so much. And the reason San Francisco is in there, and that's a team I was going to bring up, and I'm kind of jumping around, but it's just kind of the thought tonight a little bit as well. So that's kind of why they're showing up cheap and good against left-handed pitching. And the other reason why it is showing up in the optimizer is because we've got 19 to 22 mile an hour winds blowing out. I know it's San Francisco, a big park, but we're talking high winds. The other thing to consider in San Francisco with these late games is just kind of like that marine layer. Oh, the lineup is in. So it's Slater, Bryant, Posey, Ruff, Longoria, Crawford, Flores, Solano. So yeah, we got Slater 2,500. I think I've got this on FanDuel price. I'm going to flip over. I'm actually going to load this as we go. Just give me 2 seconds here. Is the marine layer. Yeah, 2,200 for Austin Slater. That's another price. I'm just going to type them here so we can look at some stats. And I will type this in as we go. I think we got Darren Ruff batting 4th. Then we got Longoria. So for GPPs, I mean, he crushes lefties for his career. Crawford's in there as well. Then we got Flores and Solano, who is batting at the bottom of the lineup at home. So I'm not really interested in that, but he is plus versus lefty. So it is Solano. So Solano and Ruff, like, look at these guys versus lefties. This is absolutely incredible. Longoria, 217 WRC plus. Ruff 164, Posey 181, Chris Bryant 169, and 127 for Slater. That is a team I would definitely stack for GPP tonight, and it costs you nothing. That is why you can go and stack. I don't think the chalk build is going to be San Francisco and paying up for the top two pitchers tonight, like we see over here on DFSR in the lineup that has Cole and Gosman. So I absolutely love that. But what I would do, this is kind of set up for cash games where it's always going to try and grab your most optimized plays rather than stacking. So I don't use the stacks on the side because it doesn't really necessarily give you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I will go and I will lock the players that I want to stack. So like for GPP, if we are stacking San Francisco, go and stack Ruff, and we stack. I'll just take the plays for my sheet here and I'll just kind of follow along. Slater, Bryant, Posey, Ruff, Longoria. So we'll just do all of them and just kind of see what that gives us. And Ruff, Longoria, Bryant, and Posey. So I think a San Francisco build is going to be lower owned for sure tonight. So I definitely like going that way. And like I said, they absolutely crush lefties. So that's going to give you a little bit of edge on the field, I think, paying up for both pitchers, because I think it's going to be like a Cole, Miley, Cole, Jax, Cole, Quantrill. I think those are going to be your chalk pitcher builds tonight. And I don't think a Cole Gosman is going to be there. It's going to be more like, the fourth or fifth favorite. I could be way off here, but I don't think the double pay up pitcher is going to go. But if you do, this is what I like doing with it, because it gets you those San Francisco bats that absolutely crush. And then you can go mix in Colorado, San Diego. LA is very expensive, so that's a team you can, if you took out Gosman and wanted to go with a cheap pitcher with San Francisco, you could now have access to the Dodgers, who I don't believe the lineup is in yet either. But they're probably the most expensive team to stack on this slate. Another expensive stack would be Oakland. I'm not really into it against Keuchel, but the Yankees are up there as well. But they're pretty fairly priced, to be honest with you. 3 of their top 4 very powerful bats, all under 5K, and Judge is only 5,300. He's my favorite of the bunch, actually. I wrote him up in my article last night. He's, in terms of safety, he's there. In terms of power upside, I think he's right up the top of the team as well. So hitting 2, I like him versus the lefty Suarez tonight. So the Yankees are a stack I like mixing in with San Francisco as well. All right, going to go back and check some questions here. No questions. I went over PrizePicks, DK. Also with the tools here, if you're building 50 lineups in GPPs, you go and lock that over to 50 lineups, what you can do. So I've locked in those players. So I'm now going to create 50 lineups and see the lineups are going to be very, very close. Like it's just, you're going to see high percentages on the players that I have not locked in. This little red number to the right of each player is the percent that they are in the lineups of however many you choose. So if you choose 50, that means Cole's in 100% of the 50 lineups, or Trey Turner's in 30% of the 50 lineups. That's what that red number means. So if you don't want 100% of Tatis and 50 lineups and you want a little more diverse lineups, what you do is you come up here to the randomness meter. You can go all the way to 100 and it's going to be quite random. I don't usually go there, but 50 is a pretty good number. It's just going to mix in these guys that you didn't highlight and give you a little bit larger of a player pool. So that's one that I definitely play with. Football season, we'll talk a lot more in terms of salary, because I do like going like some balanced routes. Golf, I'm going to do a video for golf as well, where maybe you want to avoid the top priced guys in a given week. So what I like doing is playing with the salary. You could do that for baseball as well. I just don't necessarily do it because we have so many values. I don't think that's an optimal build whatsoever. And then while you're building, make sure to watch for this do you want to reload? So whenever we make a change in the back end of the projections, you're going to get this asking you to reload. If you have built a bunch of lineups, I would export your lineups first of all, and then go ahead and reload, because it's going to reset your data, all of your locked players and everything. So make sure to go and export all that. You can export our projections here into CSV files as well. And then we've got some stuff down here as well. You can start adding in all these filters down here as well. That is something that I do videos actually for football season and how I build some stacks, looking at different filters and stuff. And I'm going to go over that a little bit deeper as well. So I'm not sure if you were on the show or not, the person that was asking in chat this morning, but if you did catch this video after, or you were on, and I didn't cover everything, all the questions, hit me up in chat, and I can make you a personalized video with the awesome screenshot program I have, just covering the questions that I have. But again, I've got another show on Friday, so make sure to show up and for that one as well. I give away a $10 Fanatics gift card every Friday, and answer all your questions and go over the same picks and stuff like that. So if you have questions about the DFSR article, show up either Monday or Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, live show for baseball. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We've hit the 35-minute mark. I'm going to take off and start building my lineups now that we're getting closer to lock. So thanks for tuning in. Again, join me on Friday. And if you're not a member, you're looking to get all my picks on the cheat sheet 7 days a week, make sure to head over to patreon.com/JagerBombs or DFSR.com. And we both have free trials, and you can get my sheets on both. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, everyone.